Bruce Willis has to go back in time to figure out how this virus broke out. Believe it or not, there is a certain reflection of reality in Bruce Willis traveling through time to figure out where a gigantic, deadly virus outbreak came from. Because that's actually what scientists are doing today. The human HIV comes from chimpanzees that live what's marked in the green over there on the map, actually from Cameroon. And those black dots show jumps where viruses have gone from chimpanzees into humans. So this gives you an idea of where this happened. I mean, you can actually zero in. That little red circle there, that's where the chimpanzees are that gave the world most of their AIDS. We know the answer now. So then the next question is, well, okay, when did this happen? And again, these scientists will do time travel to figure this out. Some hunter, maybe, had a cut on his hand, maybe he's butchering a chimpanzee and cuts his own hand by accident with a knife covered in viruses. And that's how it started. So now we know the answer to that in the sense that Bruce Willis is trying to find out a similar answer.
So yeah, computer people love crazy names and crazy computers, and then I found this book, and the book was called Out of the Inner Circle by Bill Landreth. And part of this movie you'll see is based on Bill Landreth. He was like the first teenage kid to get busted for hacking. And through Microsoft Press, thank you Microsoft, he wrote a book about how to hack. And it was called Out of the Inner Circle. And in the movie you'll hear people talk about the red book and the green book. Those were for real grown-up hackers. I was a punk 15-year-old kid. I got this book and it told me an awful lot that was incredibly useful for me to know. And one of the things that really impressed upon me is how easy hacking often was. So for example, you'll hear, in the old days, you would hear about people freaking the phone system, and you'll hear some about that in the movie. And the way they would do it is through these blue boxes that would emit a 2600 hertz tone. Because the phone system was so simple, like for debugging, for testing the phone system, the repairman would have this thing, it would emit this tone, it would let them make a free call anywhere. And people figured this out, so they started making their own boxes. And even more horrifyingly, someone figured out that if you bought a box of Captain Crunch, it had the little plastic whistle. If you put your finger over one of the holes and blew, it would make exactly a 2600 hertz tone. And so people were using these whistles to make free phone calls all over the place. And this notion became so much part of hacker culture. You remember the Atari 2600? Do you ever wonder how it got that name? It didn't have 2600 of anything in it, but the guys who were making it were using it as a blue box in order to make free phone calls. And so when management said, you got to come up with a number for this thing, they said, how about 2600?
What I'm going to talk about very briefly is where we are in our understanding of dreams. We went through a long post-Freudian period where we thought we understood dreams and their deep and nefarious, dark purposes. And then somewhere around the 1970s, Alan Hobson and Bob McCarty came up with this model that seemed to indicate that they thought that dreams were random, chaotic events in the brain that had no meaning or significance whatsoever. Sleep processes all sorts of memories that we form during the day, and it processes different memories in different ways. Well, it turns out that the memory processing and the dreaming can be tied together. And this is the brilliant work of a student of mine, Erin Walmsley. And here's what she did. She taught people to learn to negotiate through one of these three-dimensional mazes on a computer. You got to go around behind this and through that passageway and round and about. She would train them around noon. She'd test them around 5 p.m. And half of the subjects got a nap in the middle of the day. What she finds is that the subjects who were awake for this entire time, from 1 to 5 p.m., actually take about a minute longer, about 60 seconds longer to get through the maze than they took at the end of training, as if they'd sort of forgotten the maze a bit. And she actually did a third study where she woke people up and got real dream reports. In the wake group, nothing much happens. In the sleep group, not much if they reported no dreams related to the maze. But if they reported dreaming about the maze, those are the people who showed really impressive improvement in performance. So we got all excited and said, oh my God, it's the dreams that are causing the improvement.
This is what it's about, this little talk here, about the Ig Nobel Prizes and the man in the white suit. First, just to give you a bit of context about the Ig Nobel Prizes, and this also is about the magazine, and sad to say about pretty much everything I do professionally, it's all about things that make people laugh and then make them think. Things that have the quality, when you first hear about it, it's funny. You almost have no choice but to react that way. And a week later, it's still rattling around in your head. This is the man in the white suit. This is the hero of the movie. I wanted to show you the picture right at the start before I show you some other things, because if this were not just a fictional character, were this a real person doing what you'll see done in the movie, he would be a very strong candidate to win an Ig Nobel Prize. Last year, 2009, one of the Ig Nobel Prizes went to 3 people, but the first name is the main driver here, Dr. Elena Bodnar. They won a prize for inventing a brassiere that in an emergency can be quickly converted into a pair of protective face masks. One for the brassiere wearer and one to protect some lucky bystander. This is from their patent, as you can see. This also is from the patent. And here's Dr. Bodnar at the ceremony. She gave us one of these, and Robin, could I ask you to come up here and either demonstrate or just show, depending on whatever you'd like to do. Here is a Bodnar bra. And if you could unhook it. Yeah.